Yo, my name is John the Fondo, and I have been a session bassist and guitarist on Fiverr for about a year now. I actually made a video about this last summer, talking about my experiences getting started a couple months in. But at that time, I had maybe done about 24 orders, and I'm sitting around 170 right now. So I feel like I have a lot more insight now that I'm more comfortable into the routine of doing this. I will state that by no means do I consider myself some kind of exceptional virtuosic musician, nor am I at like the top of the platform or anything. I also wanted to say that this isn't a video about how to build your profile and get started on the platform from scratch. It's more about talking about my experiences and maybe hearing about this from somebody who deals with this pretty much every day as a means of work might give you a little bit of motivation to get into it if it was something you were interested in doing. So let's go. One elephant in the room that I kind of want to address is you're just like, yo, hey John, why you look like you just rolled out of bed? Well, since I work remotely now, there is no need for pants anymore. I just wanted to give you the most accurate representation of what doing this kind of work is like, and yo, I work in my pajamas. Deal with it. If anything, I actually consider that one of the best parts of the job. So one question I get very often is, what kind of gear do I need to get started doing this? And the answer may surprise you, because you probably already have most of it. I'm just going to give you a quick little rundown of what my bedroom recording setup looks like, so you can see what a professional bedroom recording studio actually can look like. Alright, you're about to see what a professional bedroom studio looks like. So I got this really small desk that I had to improvise in order to fit everything on it. I got this computer that my buddy built and sold me for $300. I got an old HP HD monitor. I got my MBox 2, which is like an ancient interface, but as long as it has preamps, it'll get the job done. You can find these for maybe $20 to $50 on the used market. The most expensive part of this rig is definitely the KRK rockets. But if you were getting started and couldn't afford monitors, you could totally do this on headphones. And then in the corner, I have my instruments. I got my humbucker and my single coil guitars for rock and funk, and then I got my bass. That's it. So as you can see, I've pretty much boiled this down to the bare essentials of what I need. For doing bass and guitar stuff, I find for bass, usually a DI does the trick. I do have an external preamp for some situations that call for it. For the guitar stuff, I've spent a lot of this time living in spaces where I can't really crank an amp and mic it, so I just use amp sims and cabinet impulses. You can find tons of them for free online, or you can buy some at really affordable prices. As far as the expectations from the people you'll work with, usually when you're dealing with music producers directly, like they want the driest, most unpolished sound possible, so they have the most options to work with. So if not having the right gear has been what's holding you back from getting started, if this is something you're interested in, I'd say just forget about it and get to work with what you have. If you start making a bit of money doing this and you want to upgrade the gear you have, by all means, go for it. But I'm just saying, you're fine working with a minimal setup. Yeah, it shouldn't be holding you back. One thing I talked about in the last video I made about this is to be very specific about the services you offer. Fiverr is an extremely competitive platform, especially after COVID put a stop to live shows. A giant influx of people came in using it. So if you're gonna just put yourself up a gig and call it like, I will play bass guitar on your song, or I will be your professional guitar player, there's lots of people who have already been doing gigs with those kinds of titles for years, who probably have hundreds of reviews and already have a reputation doing it. So you have to think about talking about what you specifically bring to the table if you're going to build a reputation for yourself. I have 3 gigs at the moment. One is called I Will Give Your Song Funky, Groovy, and Exhilarating Bass. One is called I Will Play You a Solo That is Exciting and Well Phrased, or something like that. And the other one is I Will Make You Custom Organic Funky Guitar Samples. I feel all of those are pretty specific to my unique skill set and do a pretty good job explaining what I specifically can bring to the table. It also helps if you have some other platforms that you can advertise on. For me, I have this YouTube channel, and people watching my videos and then hiring me on Fiverr because of it definitely helped me a lot with my first few gigs when I got started. I'm personally not a big fan of spamming my Fiverr gigs all over social media for my friends to see, but I would recommend getting a friend to maybe buy something when you started and leaving a really nice review so people scrolling over your profile can see that you already have some satisfied customers and have a little bit of proof that you're good at what you do. Another grim reality about how competitive the market is you're probably gonna have to sell yourself for a lot less than you're probably worth when you're getting started. I have a friend, I'm not gonna mention his name, but he's a very accomplished and internationally recognized drummer who started a Fiverr around the same time as I did. He set his rates at what his live studio rates would have been at the time, which is somewhere around the ballpark of $100 US a song for a few unedited takes, which again, for a drummer of his caliber, is an incredibly fair price. But he got nothing, because it's the online world, and there's tons of people that are just eager and hungry to work for pennies. When I started doing Fiverr, I used to do full songs for as little as like $20 for a short one, and my sample gigs went about as cheap as $10. That was definitely not a sustainable model for me because I'd end up getting a more difficult song, and what I was getting paid hourly would work out to less than minimum wage. So as I started to get a little bit busier, I noticed there was more demand for what I was doing, and I was getting kind of burnt out from it. I'd start incrementally raising my prices. Right now, I do the sample gigs for $20, and I don't do a full song for less than 40 bucks for a short one. Which you're like, yo, hey John, that's like still pretty cheap. How do you actually make that profitable? And the answer is, I do it really fast. I've gotten way more efficient at the process of recording myself in a year of doing this. Usually my system is I'll take generally 3 takes through the song of either playing the part or improvising. I'll comp myself out, just like one master take of those 3, and then I'll comb over that, do a couple of manual edits, just like moving bad notes, and if there's something that can't be saved, I'll just do a quick punch-in or 2, and then I'm done. A lot of the time, I can actually hear a song for the first time and have it learned, professionally recorded, and edited in like an hour or 2. Sometimes even less, sometimes more if it's like a difficult song. But if you had told me a year ago that I'd be able to pump it out that quick, I'd have told you were crazy. Even the $20 sample gigs usually only take me about a half an hour to do, and when you think about that in terms of an hourly rate, you know, that's like looking anywhere in the like $20 to $50 an hour ballpark, which is a pretty good rate. Especially if you're comparing it to live gigs, where $100 is considered a pretty good price for a live gig, and that includes 8 hours of waiting around a bar. You know, with a couple of fairly easy songs, I could probably make that in like 3-4 hours. And I don't have to put pants on, yo. So as I keep getting busier, I'll keep incrementally raising my prices, and you know what? It's not like I'm getting any slower at doing this, so thus my hourly rate just continues to increase with my prices. So this kind of stuff actually has a lot of potential if you can manage to keep yourself busy. You definitely want to keep an open mind to the styles of music you'll be working in too, because sometimes the stuff that leads to work isn't really the stuff you expected. For me, the big one was house music. Wasn't really something I was particularly into before, but noticing the kind of people that would end up hiring me for my gigs, I saw a lot of demand for live guitar and bass samples in electronic bass music. So I kind of learned the nuances of stuff like house and electro and new disco, and now a pretty big portion of the people I work with are electronic music producers and DJs. So let's say, for example, you're like a rock metal guitarist, you want to play rippin' solos over rock and metal songs. Well, you know what? Most of the people who are writing rock and metal probably play guitar themselves and are less likely to want to hire somebody to play a solo because that's the kind of thing they want to do. On the flip side of that, there's a pretty big market for stuff like synthwave and 80s throwback stuff, which there's a constant demand for guitar players to play solos in. Most synthwave bedroom producers are a lot less likely to play guitar themselves than, you know, like a bedroom gent person. So try to think about stuff like that, of how can my skill set be transferred into other genres of music. There's definitely kinds of gigs that I'll still turn down. For me, the styles are more like tropical house, reggaeton stuff, where like the layered textured guitars, like I've never really managed to figure out, so I'll turn those down if I can. And it's the same with stuff where people want me to produce a beat from scratch, because like I'm not really that much of a producer. So I don't know, there's some instances where something a little bit out of your comfort zone might push you to become a better player, and there's other times where it's probably more trouble than it's worth. So I'd say just use your discretion in those instances. Something I want to touch on briefly is, not getting too hung up in the analytics. There's definitely been times where I've been checking my gig analytics and my impressions like every day, and it kind of just got into my head too much. I'd be like refreshing the page all the time, searching like guitar and bass to see where I ranked in the search results, and you know what? There were times where I was ranking in like the top 10 of just like every guitar player on Fiverr, getting like hundreds of impressions a day. And I don't get nearly the impressions that I used to, but the funny thing is I actually get more work. Probably because I have way more positive reviews, so my conversion rate of click to order is a lot higher than it used to be, and I get a lot of repeat business from people who are satisfied with my work before. So I just try to worry about that less now. You know, if a week goes by where I don't get like a single order or a single message, instead of panicking and being just like, it's all over, I just try to like work on something else. Like I just make a YouTube video, or I like try to work on my own music. Yeah, even if I think everything's going down the drain, odds are it's probably fine. Another place actually that it's good not to worry is when you're waiting all day to hear back from somebody. Like if it took you like an hour to do a job, and you're all just like worried, it's like, are they gonna be happy with it, or they're gonna make me do a revision, but the revision's only gonna take you like 15 minutes or something? Do you want to spend an hour and 15 minutes working on this, or do you want to spend an hour and 15 minutes working and another like 8 hours worrying, you know? So yeah, use your time wisely, just good things to consider. Before I get to wrapping up this video, I want to talk about a couple of the less glamorous things I don't hear about as much. One big thing I've found is people are a lot more inclined to just be rude, condescending, and just outright mean when they're kind of hidden behind that veil of anonymity on the internet. When I was in the live world, I didn't find that happened nearly as much, but it's happened to me quite a few times on Fiverr, where people will say stuff to you in a paragraph through text that they probably would not have the courage to say to your face. I remember one time I got this like long message, obviously with no punctuation, because this is the kind of person I was dealing with, just like laying out in all this detail about how I'm just such a terrible bass player and an awful musician, and just like where do I get off calling myself a professional. And it gave me a lot of anxiety worrying about how to respond to that kind of thing. But literally the same day, Davey504 ended up shouting me out on his channel. So I thought about it. I was just like, yo man, just like if one of the most influential bass players on the planet is giving me a shout out right now, I'm not gonna let some like jerk hack on Fiverr just determine my worth to me. So yeah, that was a pretty uncomfortable instance, and I have quite a few more horror stories like that I'll save for another video. The other thing I've found that I wanted to talk about is that most people aren't going to credit you for your work. Some people that you work with, they want to credit you, or at least they want to build a relationship with the musicians that they work with. Other people just order the service, they see it as kind of a means to getting the thing they want, the same as walking into a store and buying the thing they want, or downloading a sample off Splice, and they'll never talk to you again after the work is done. Never mind, you know, tell you where you could find their music, or let you know when the song you worked on together is going to be released. I actually have no idea what happened to the majority of the songs that I worked on through FIVERR, which is a bit of a bummer because I want to hear all of them. There's also this weird double-edged sword scenario where some of the songs that I've played on have actually done considerably well. There was a song that I played on that ended up making it to #1 on the Australian club charts, and I was kind of just like, man, I made $60 from this. Whether 1 million people are gonna hear a song I played or 5 people are gonna hear a song I played, I get paid the same, and I try to put the same amount of energy in no matter what. It can be a little bit discouraging, though, when you do play on a track that like tens or hundreds of thousands of people hear and nobody knows that it was actually you who played on it. My hope is that eventually over time, between songs like that and from the people who do credit me for the work I do, that eventually I'll kind of make it to a point where it's not just people hiring me because I happen to be able to do a thing they want, but because I have a reputation for myself and having my name on their work adds value to their work. This is just a hope. I am totally not there yet. But that's also kind of just how the music industry is these days. Like, it's all about stacking a series of small accomplishments until it eventually amounts to something. So, yeah, that's what I've found in about a year of doing this. I'm sure there's more I could have covered, but I don't want this video to get too long or anything either. Overall, it's been real. I've worked with tons of great musicians all over the world. I've gotten so much better at recording myself. I've worked with bedroom artists. I've worked with artists and producers who have hundreds of thousands or millions of Spotify listeners. I've played on a track with a legendary house pioneer, Robin S., which is extremely cool. I even had one gig, which was Davey504 hiring me to be in one of his FIVERR videos. That's also really cool. So, if you like this video, give me a like, drop me a sub if you feel so inclined, follow me on Instagram if you'd like to as well. If you have any questions about this, feel free to leave a comment below, shoot me an email, and I'm happy to respond to everything I hear. And yeah, if you made it this far, you're a real one. Hope you enjoyed this video. Keep it real.